He said, when Grace Jones went to bed with Moore, I was sure the producers had hit on a way to kill the old fellow with dignity. Welcome to Gold, Diamonds, and Death, a James Bond podcast. I'm your 00 host, Jonathan Watkins. I'm a writer for all things under the Cinemasins brand name and a co-host of the Behind the Scenes podcast. Joining me each and every week for this endeavor, he's the co-founder of Cinemasins and co-host of the weekly podcast Recotopia, and really loves it when bubbles tickle his Tchaikovsky.
And now I thought we said that we wouldn't put that on the podcast, but now that it's out, I feel liberated, and I can tell you that yes, I do like bubbles touching my Tchaikovsky.
I mean, I know like a lot of people probably don't know that actress by name, but like it's just like that is a line that I will forever associate with that person. Like I could never think of anything else. She could be like in this like serious Oscar bait drama, like addicted to cocaine, and I'm just gonna think about that.
Yeah, line. You're sitting there thinking about bubbles touching her Tchaikovsky.
But anyways, he's also one of my good friends, Mr. Chris Atkinson. How are you doing, sir?
Hello, I'm doing fine. I'm doing well.
And now, this week is really exciting. We're going to talk about a Duran Duran song called "From a View to a Kill." I'm really excited. It's going to be an hour and a half. All Duran.
We're going to break down all the instrumentation and interviews with Duran Duran over the years about the song, which was their only hit.
Yeah, only hit. They never had another hit before or after.
I mean, Duran Duran, that was the first and last time you heard of them was on
When I hear them, I always think about what was the woman's name, the character that Mike Myers did on Saturday Night Live? It was like the coffee shop. It was like the coffee
Linda
talk.
Rickman.
Yeah,
Linda Rickman.
And she would do that, like, I'm getting verklempt, and then she would say, like, talks amongst yourselves, and then she would give a topic, and one of them was, talk amongst yourselves, Duran Duran is neither Duran nor Duran.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, exactly. Yep.
So they've also had some really good music, but that's just what I always think of when I think of Duran Duran.
I mean, only hardcore music fans really
That's
know
true.
them,
like,
so.
yeah, who's Duran Duran?
Right.
I do wonder, though, is that a band that I wonder if young people still know? Like, I mean, maybe.
I'm sure they do.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's
They've
some
heard the
that,
name.
I mean, especially like Ordinary World, probably.
That's
like,
true.
You know, one of those. I mean, Hungry Like the Wolf has probably gotten to a lot of people.
Yeah, like, do they have like any? I wonder if they have like any songs that play like in stadiums or anything, because that seems to be like where a lot of people, like a lot of younger people, learn about music, is going to events and stuff. I don't know. Maybe Hungry Like a Wolf. Maybe Rio is a song people know.
Yeah. I mean, some of those heyday 80s songs, I'm sure that it have translated.
It's hilarious how that was a joke, but we've now talked about them for like 6 minutes. But and we're going to talk
that's
about
what happens when you talk about really obscure bands that you love that nobody else knows.
I was playing a game at one of our neighbors' house, and one of the answers was like the Rolling Stones, and then this woman's husband at the thing was like, "How do you know everything, Jonathan?" I'm like, it's the fucking Rolling Stones. Like, do you not know who the Rolling Stones are? And this dude is younger than me, but he's not that much younger than me.
This.
Huh?
Yeah, I've actually run into this kind of thing.
It's crazy,
before,
right?
where,
But
like,
I mean,
I understand certain things people not knowing, but like stuff that's universal, like Rolling Stones or whatever, that's something that everybody I feel like should know.
I don't know anything about soccer, but like I know who Pele is. It's like
right, exactly.
I mean, people that know anything about baseball or basketball probably know who Michael Jordan is. I mean, that's what the Rolling Stones feels like. That's it to me. Maybe it's not. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Knows?
That'd be
who
like
knows?
not knowing what Star Wars was. Like, it's just weird. I don't know. But anyways, so obscure bands. That's our next podcast. We'll be into that in just a few weeks.
Duran Duran episode 1.
Yeah. So we are talking about the 1985 James Bond film. We're back in the official canon. We will be in the official canon for the rest of time, I think, unless something happens in the future that's we're not aware of. But this movie is called A View to a Kill. It was originally the story that it took the title from, and it only took the title from the story. We're actually not going to do the book segment again this week because there's no reason, but I will go over kind of like real quick, like a synopsis of the story. But there's nothing. I mean, They took the title. What I think is weird, though, the title of the story and the title of the Duran Duran song is From a View to a Kill. And so they took off the from, which is really odd because now the title, at least to me, doesn't make sense. Like, what the fuck is a view to a kill? Like, from a view to a kill, that's like an action happening, right? You're going from viewing it to killing it or whatever. Like, what the hell is a view to a kill? Like, I just don't know.
I mean, I guess it could mean that you're at a spot where you have a view and there is someone in your sight.
But then it would be
to
of
a kill, but I don't know.
But see, I think that would be view of a kill.
I don't know. I can see it. I can see that being the same thing. But no. I mean, I understand. No, I mean, it's just how you interpret it.
It's just weird they took the from off. Like, I actually tried to look up why they did that. I couldn't find anything, but I'm like really curious. Yeah. Like, what was it about that? It's like the Facebook thing, right? Take off the
Right. But whatever. I mean, we'll get to this, I'm sure, anyway. But we might as well go ahead and get it out of the way. It leads to one of the worst roll credits, quote unquote, moments ever in a film.
That's fair.
Ever.
That's fair.
Yeah. So I would rather it be From a View to a Kill myself, but so that they wouldn't have that autocomplete shit that Christopher Walken does when they're in the blimp going over the Golden Gate. So it's one of the worst all time.
All right. So we're going to talk about a lot of things about the movie, though. But first, we're going to go talk about kind of the behind the scenes. This is a segment we like to call Eon Flux.
This is a journey.
I'm going to make a movie!
We have to go back, Kate.
Wow, how did you know all that stuff?
I did my research.
I don't understand any of this.
What the fuck is going on?
We're going to scour through the history of Eon Productions and give you all the highs and lows that went into the making of these films. View to a Kill was released May 24th, 1985, 2 days before my 9th birthday in the U.S. It was released on June 13th, 1985 in the U.K. The premiere was in San Francisco on May 22nd. It was the very first premiere that was not in the U.K. Even the movies where the release date was in the U.S. first, the premiere was still...
Sort of goes to show when you have a mayor who gives you every possible break filming, you get the movie premiere. And that's what was Dianne Feinstein was the mayor of San Francisco at the time, who gave them all that leeway to shoot in San Francisco.
Yeah, because they shot like everywhere. Like, I mean, everywhere. And I can't even imagine. But so it got the premiere on May 22nd. Made 152 million, a little over 152 million on a round. I saw 30 to 35 million budget. That was worldwide. Made 50.3 million in the U.S. Finished 13th at the U.S. box office. I feel confident in saying this. I meant to actually go back and check, but Box Office Mojo only goes up to like 77 or starts at like 77. But I'm almost positive this is the first Bond film to not finish in the top 10 at the U.S. box office.
That's probably true.
Because I think even Man with the Golden Gun, which Man with the Golden Gun was a hit, so yeah, it did. But
it's probably true. I think that's true because I mean, of course, now we're knee deep in to where there are a ton of just movies being made
exactly
for blockbusters.
Exactly. And I should say the official Bond franchise, Never Say Never Again, was not in the top 10, and Casino Royale was not in the top 10 either.
Yeah,
or the original Casino Royale, not the one that comes out in a 20 years, I guess, after this one. 21 years. So finished 13th, made about 300,000 less than Fletch, so it was right there between the 12 and 13. And then it made about $1 million more than National Lampoon's European Vacation. So it was fit between Chevy Chase movies.
Yes. It's amazing.
Chevy Chase had a really good year, by the way. Spies Like Us was in the top 10 that year. It was 9.
Oh, wow.
So he had 3 films between like 9 and 14 or whatever. Police Academy, other films that finished ahead of it. Police Academy 2. Oh, wait, no, maybe Spies Like Us was like 11th. Either way, other films that finished ahead of it. Police Academy 2, Spies Like Us, The Goonies, Witness, Jewel of the Nile. It's a pretty fun year. Cocoon, Out of Africa, which won the Best Picture. So back then, Best Picture usually meant it was a top 10 movie. Color Purple, Rocky IV, of course. So Stallone had the number 2 and the number 3 because Rambo was First Blood Part 2 was number 2.
Yeah.
And then, of course, number 1, which was in first place
Back to the Future
by a little over 60 million. The movie that made young Chris Atkinson, a huge film fan and a lover of Chuck Berry. So
that's right. That's correct.
No, that was a good year though. 85.
I know his entire filmography.
Yeah, you're right. We're finally getting into where it's like there are a lot of just big, giant blockbusters. That's going to get even crazier as we get like into the 90s and the 2000s. But and it's not to say Bond still doesn't do well. It absolutely does. But it's not going up just against like like Breakfast at Tiffany's and stuff like that anymore. Like it's
yeah, exactly.
It's going up against like juggernaut franchises and stuff like that.
And it's a constant stream. That's the other thing. There's more and more movies being made, so there's more dissection of the audience.
Exactly.
And so if it's not running, it's not like coming out and it's the only movie in town. It's coming out with like 2 or 3 other movies.
Yeah, and it's not, and releases are different, right? Every wide releases every year they keep going into more theaters. There's more theaters being built, multiplexes, all that kind of stuff. So it's just there's a lot more stuff out there to watch, and so and it doesn't get as, like you said, it doesn't get as much of a gap in between blockbusters, which is kind of funny because right now that is kind of the case because we're still kind of post-COVID, but I think that's going to kind of get more back to normal here pretty soon. All right, so going into the production, I already said title is taken from a short story. It's in the For Your Eyes Only collection, and like I said, the title was From a View to a Kill, which is also the title that was actually shown at the end of Octopussy. It said James Bond will return in From a View to a Kill, and then for whatever reason they just they took off the from. I'll tell you real quick because, like I said, there's not enough here to go in to have like a section about the story, but I will say the story is very short. It's okay. I mean, it's not bad by any means, but it's not that interesting. And I can tell why they didn't do it for the movie. It's just Bond gets sent to investigate this motorcycle dispatch rider gets killed. And M thinks there's something going on there because he had some documents in his possession. So Bond just basically gets sent to go find out what happened. He goes undercover as a dispatch rider, finds the assassin, kills the assassin, and then takes down the organization. It's not that interesting. I mean, it's just that's all there is to it. There's really nothing else to it. They didn't use any of it for the story. There wasn't like a fire truck chase or anything like that, and unfortunately. But there is in the movie. The film was produced, obviously, Albert Broccoli and Michael G. Wilson. Michael G. Wilson wrote the screenplay with our good buddy Richard Maibaum. Maibaum, I'll get in that in a second. This is the third film of 5, I guess. We've got 2 more that John Glenn's going to direct. Like I said, we've said this. He directs every main Bond film of the 80s. Never Say Never Again is the only thing he obviously isn't involved in. A View to a Kill was originally going to be an episode. It was going to be adapted for an episode of that abandoned CBS series from the 50s that we've talked about. I don't know. It was just it was a James Bond series. This was going to be one of the episodes, but it never got made. George MacDonald Fraser was asked to write the screenplay initially. He was the writer on Octopussy, but he wasn't available, so they brought Maibaum in. Maibaum's original script, which this sounds terrible, but I kind of wish they had done this. Zorin is manipulating Halley's Comet into crashing into Silicon Valley. Did you hear about this? Okay.
Yes. I heard about this, yes.
That would have been kind of amazing.
And they thought that would be too unrealistic.
Yeah, that's what
so
I love.
They went with
Broccoli or Wilson's like, we need to be a little more realistic. So but if you're telling me that what we saw was realistic, I have in fact, I'll talk about that. I guess we talk about the review. But the original script also had Barbara Bach returning, which actually makes sense because the character that's was Paula Ivanova, the Tchaikovsky that we mentioned.
Yeah,
her character, she's played by Fiona Fullerton, who does a very good job. But you get the impression because at first I'm like, are we supposed to know who this is? Because Bond just knows her.
Yeah,
and so
I thought for a second it was her, but just played by a different actor. And then I was like, no, that's not the same name. Yeah.
So they just changed the name. I almost wish they had just kept it the same because it kind of makes no sense. I mean, I guess we're just to assume Bond's met people before that we've never seen, but I don't know. It feels awkward. That doesn't ruin. That's not why. That's not a problem really, based on everything else that happens in the movie. But it's just weird. This would be the first Bond movie to have a disclaimer attached to it. They found out there was a company called Zorin. it was spelled differently. It had an A-N, but they still felt the need to make sure everybody knew the Zorn Corporation wasn't.
They looked into that company and they said that is a company that might one day try to put a bunch of exploslovs in the San Andreas Fault and then like try to blow it up and that cause a silicone. So we better we better make a disclaimer that it isn't about them.
Oh, it's so funny. This is Living Daylights, which we'll talk about next week, will actually be the second film to have a disclaimer. I didn't write down. I can't remember what it was now. It was. I guess I'll find that out when I talk about Living Daylights. But I did write down that it was the second one to have a disclaimer. The film was shot a bunch of locations: Pinewood Studios, Iceland, Switzerland, France, and then the U.S. A lot of French landmarks in this: Eiffel Tower. The Jules Verne restaurant, which is in the Eiffel Tower, the Chateau de Chantilly. They also filmed in San Francisco, all over San Francisco, as we already alluded to, because they got all kinds of crazy permissions. Fisherman's Wharf, of course, the Dunsmuir House, which is actually in Oakland, City Hall, Golden Gate Bridge, and the Lefty O'Doul Bridge, which is where the fire truck scene was filmed. It was cool because I've actually been to San Francisco because I haven't been to a lot of these countries they go to. So when I was watching them in San Francisco, I was like, oh, that's cool. Because I love San Francisco. So it was cool watching all that. So also Pinewood Studios, I don't know if you read about this or heard about this, but it...
this was in the behind the scenes,
Yeah, so fucking Ridley Scott's Legend was filming at Pinewood Studios. And apparently they left behind a bunch of petrol or something. And there was a fire and the 007 stage burnt down. It was destroyed. So they did film in some other stages, a few things, but they did have to have that stage. I think the mine, I think it's on the new stage that they built, the whole mine thing, which is huge.
Yeah.
They didn't get any of that done until January of '85. It's only a few months before this movie gets released. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah, from what I understand, it burned down, and then Peter Lamont, who's been taking over the production design since Ken Adam, was like, Jesus, what are we going to do now? We have some of these things require a studio that is of this size to film it. And so ultimately he came to Broccoli and said, all right, do you want to rebuild this or not? And he said yes. And luckily the guy who originally built the studio said, I can get this up in 3 months. And basically it's the cleanup takes up a month and then rebuilding took 2 months, and they got it up. I mean, that's an amazing feat. Amazing feat.
Yeah, and then got everything shot on it and then got it edited in time to release it 4 months later. This is one of, I will say, I mean, I think we've kind of given away we're not the hugest fans of this movie, but this is, I think this is one of Lamont's better. That mindset's pretty crazy. That's the most Ken Adams I've seen him get.
Yeah, and the blimp, inside the blimp.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. That's funny to think how big they were trying to make blimps a thing in the 80s.
Yeah.
I guess they were trying to post Hindenburg. They were like, no, they're safe, I promise.
Yeah.
Please come do blimps. And I guess we still see them quite a bit
They still do Goodyear and all that. Yep.
Yeah, so some of the stunt stuff, I actually don't like that. There's not a lot of really interesting stuff here. And God, the stunt double work in this movie is wild,
awful. It's you can tell too many times that it's not him, including
those wigs.
Yeah, the wigs. But the worst one is when he crashes through the boat into the cake.
Yes.
It's just a dummy. It's just they just threw the dummy down in there, and they're like, who cares if this looks real?
Yeah. So we send this right before what is No Time to Die?
Yeah.
Right before No Time to Die, Chris had the great idea of doing all the last films of each Bond.
Yeah.
And so this was obviously the Roger Moore one. And I remember, I think you reviewed it or whatever, but I wrote it with Ian Whittington, one of our great writers. And I think he was the one that wrote the scene about that. But it was crazy, when you slowed it down, because I think we slowed it down in the video. And I mean, it's like a 24-year-old, I don't know. It doesn't look anything like Roger Moore. That's all.
No.
And even like stuff like going up the steps. Like they had a stunt double like chasing Grace Jones up the steps, and like they're not even trying to like hide it. You know? And then all of a sudden there's a quick close up of Roger Moore like pointing a gun or something.
Yeah.
Poor Roger Moore. So
even he knew at this point.
Oh
that,
yeah.
I mean, I'm too old to do this, and so I don't think he's taking offense from the grave or anything. So
no, I don't think he is. And I mean, we talk about that more when I talk about him. But yeah, he hated this movie. He was not a fan. He was not a fan of this movie at all for many reasons. But one of the stunts is the parachute off the Eiffel Tower. I thought this was interesting. There were two people that were supposed to do jumps. BJ Worth.
Oh my God, this is the best story of all the behind the scenes. Well, definitely.
Do you want to tell it then? You're more than welcome to tell it. It's BJ Worth and Don.
No, you go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead.
BJ Worth and Don Caldevet is how I'm going to pronounce his last name. So they were both supposed to jump. They got permission. I think it was. I don't know. I got the impression that like. Paris, like they were really nervous about this and they weren't really a fan of them doing this. But then after BJ Worth jumped and they actually got what they needed, they were like, well, we're not going to let the other guy jump. And then he got pissed, this Don Calvet guy, and he jumped anyway.
Right. Yep.
And then they had to fire him because they didn't know what else to do.
Fired him. And they
It was probably worth it to him, though. He's probably like, I don't give a shit.
Well, he's in the behind the scenes talking about this and saying that, like it sucked that he wasn't going to be able to shoot and so he did it anyway. And then the main parachute guy, the guy who's in charge of it, was like, he came up to me and I said I had to fire him on the spot. You got to think about like how big of a production this is, how this could have screwed Bond productions in France forever after this and everything. And the guy who did it was like, yeah, when I look back on it now, I realized I definitely shouldn't have done that. So
that was just an in the moment thing. I just can't imagine like being like so pissed. You're just like, I'm just gonna jump.
You know what? That's probably also something he thinks about. Like, yeah, I shouldn't have done that, but totally worth it. Is probably what he's sitting there thinking.
Probably.
Yeah.
It's like an Archer moment or something. I just thought that was hilarious. We already talked about Lamont design. That's the interior of the mine. And like I said, I think that felt like the most like Ken Adams thing. And like you said, the blimp was also very much like a Ken Adams thing, which is cool. Because that mine is just huge. There's so much. And then they had to it was multi-layered, I know, but then they had to have enough room in it to where they could put all that water in it. And then not destroy it. And like it's like I don't even know how they were able to do all that they did. I mean, as much as I don't necessarily care for the sequence itself, it's really well done.
Right.
Which both those things can be true. There's plenty of like great stunts and great sets and movies that are terrible. I always think about that scene in that Charlie Sheen movie, Terminal Velocity, where like the skydiving scene where he opens a trunk of a car that's also falling and then gets Natasha Kinski out of the trunk. I'm sure those are stunt doubles, but that's like one of the most amazing things still I've ever seen in any movie, and that movie is garbage.
It's balls, yeah.
It's so bad.
And just very quickly getting back to the jump itself and all that, like the other part of that story that's fairly interesting is that they had to go to the French government and say, hey, we want to jump off the Eiffel Tower. And apparently this meeting required the guy, and I don't know if he's exaggerating or not, but it sounds like a very specific number. He says there were 32 or 33 different heads of different departments that had to be in on this meeting to talk about how we were going to jump off the Eiffel Tower. So, it's like your basic stuff, French police, but then there's like aerial police, and then there's like water police, and like all these other different departments have to do it. And luckily for them, I don't know if they had this guy hired right off the bat, but they had a French production assistant or a production manager who knew how to talk to these guys and was able to finagle his way through this really complex negotiation, basically, to get have somebody jump off the Eiffel Tower. You wouldn't think that it would take that much, but it really, really does. And I don't know what they would have done if they didn't get it. They would have probably just had to have some other kind of stunt.
Yeah, or they would have built like because the Golden Gate Bridge, which I had that on here too. They actually built like a set to have because obviously they're not going to be
rear
fighting.
projection thing. That's what they do on the Golden Gate too. So yeah,
but it's also, I mean, I'm glad they were able to get it. I mean, it's also kind of crazy because you're like half the French government is like tied up that day because of a fucking movie wanting to shoot something. It's like that. Like I can't even imagine like if that happened here and like we're like Congress was having a meeting about whether or not they could do a stunt. It's like what? Like isn't there like people that don't have food and like what are we doing here?
Yeah, exactly.
And I know it was another department and stuff. I mean, I'm not trying to say it was, but it's just crazy to think that like stuff that's like a 3-minute scene or whatever is, or maybe less. Yeah. It's less than that if you're talking about just the jump. And then, like I said, the Golden Gate Bridge fight, which is the other big spectacle, that was a mixture. They had scale models. They had visual effects, of course. They had that full scale. They had a full scale recreation of a large section of the bridge, so they could have them like. Because obviously they're not fighting. Yeah.
It's like out in the middle of like a yard of some sort. Yeah. It's so funny watching it. Like when they're showing some of the behind the scenes. Golden Gate Bridge is sitting there like in England, just sitting there on a
on like it looks like they're in somebody's like backyard or something. It's crazy and it's like a Robert Rodriguez set because I've heard that like a lot of his stuff he just shoots in his backyard. He's got something going on back there. I don't know. Anyway,
but that's what they did. They had the Tanya Roberts being held off the edge of the Golden Gate. They just had some sort of forward projection thing that was showing the waters below. And
other than
it looks good.
Yeah, other than the stuff we were talking about, like the obvious stunt doubles and stuff. I mean, it looks great. That sequence does. It's hard to believe that they didn't both fall, but whatever. The blimp they used was from Airship Industries. They were like really trying to market the hell out of their blimps. So the blimp in the movie was actually the same one that was used in the '84 Summer Olympics. It was advertising Fujifilm, and so they painted over the Fujifilm with Zorin Industries or whatever. The movie makes it seem like you could inflate the blimp in like just a couple minutes. That actually takes like 24 hours, which I don't think we send that. I was like, when I was reading that, I was like, damn, I should have looked that up, man. I didn't even think about that, but maybe we did, and I just don't remember. But I was like, that's pretty funny because they do just kind of, it's up, it's ready to go.
Yeah.
Like I'd be terrified if that's how quick it took it to go too. I would want to get that thing. Like fuck you. Like no. All right, I'd be like, have you seen that Archer episode where they're on that blimp? And he just keeps making comments about like it's gonna explode or something. I don't know. Speaking of Archer. All right. So, did you have any other stunt stuff? I know that's kind of you get interested.
I don't think so. Yeah. I mean, they talk about the snowboard sequence at the beginning, which is it's worth mentioning because snowboarding was not a big thing. True. And the inventor of the snowboard was the guy who does one of the stunts where he hits the two guys with his board and everything. I think they undercut it once again. They put that Beach Boys California Girls over the soundtrack and everything, and it's just like, okay, that's funny, but now I've lost all the tension of this scene.
Yeah, no,
because you're just trying to make a joke. And it just kind of pissed me off. And we've already talked about how the stunt work in this movie and just the fights in general, just aren't exciting. So
no, it's the I've heard other people refer to it. It's the Roger Moore karate chop movie. He just karate chops.
Yeah. That's probably right.
So speaking of Roger Moore, he's back. This is his 7th and final go round. He announced his retirement about 6 months after the movie was released. He was not a fan of this movie. He has said it was the worst one that he worked on. He found out, I don't know if he met her, but he found out that Tanya Roberts' mother was younger than him. And that, I think that was kind of a moment where and we've talked about the past where he's definitely made comments about he gets uncomfortable with with the age difference sometimes. But I guess, I mean, if you're like, I'm older than your mom and we're supposed to be like lovers, like that's got to be fucking weird. And he also didn't like the character of Zorin. He had nothing to do with Christopher Walken. He didn't have a problem with Walken. I think he liked Walken fine. He just didn't like the way the villain was presented. There's a scene in the mine where, And we talked about this, I'm pretty sure, when we send the video, because there's a scene in the mine where he just starts like mowing people down with a machine gun.
This is one of the worst parts of the whole movie, by the way. The sound is bad. Just the actions itself, of course, are bad. Like they're not in lockstep. It's almost like they were saying, well, he's a psychopath. We haven't shown him be a psychopath really yet. Yeah. So let's show him be one here. In the worst way imaginable, and this is just a loud, unnecessary scene. And I was like, I sort of made a mental note of that scene when I watched it, going, man, this is probably one of the worst action scenes I've seen in a Bond film. I was glad to see that had been brought up in the IMDb trivia, that Roger Moore said that, you see him shooting people down in the, in this mine and everything. It just doesn't, it's not a Bond film anymore.
Yeah, no, it's just super violent. It's weird. I mean, it kind of fits more, I guess, with action movies of that time period, but it doesn't fit in a Bond movie. Zorin was obviously played by Christopher Walken. David Bowie was actually announced in '84 when they were talking about the movie. They announced David Bowie was going to be in. I didn't see why he turned it down, but he eventually just said he wasn't going to do it.
He said he said later on that he did not like the script. I think he actually told the producers to their faces that this script was terrible.
Now that you're saying,
and then he went on to do Labyrinth. So that's what he wanted to do. Anyway, that's what he ended up to do.
Yeah, that's
instead.
right. That was '86, right? So that was the next year. Was Labyrinth? Yeah. But it feels like it almost feels, I mean, I guess we can talk about that. We talk about the review, but it kind of, I mean, like I could totally see Bowie playing this role though. Maybe not the gun scene, but like everything else. I mean,
and it was written, I think, with the idea that he was going to be like Sting. Like, I don't think they ever thought of Sting being person.
Sting was the next person they went to.
Oh, they went to Sting. Okay, I didn't see if they did or not, but they had Sting in mind when they wrote it, and they also went to Rutger Hauer to play this.
Yeah,
and that's another one that makes a lot of sense too.
It does. No, I mean they clearly had they had a person in mind. Like they had a like a blonde which makes sense too, because the whole thing is like, there's this, which they don't really, the backstory of his character is just kind of washed over real quick, but it's essentially like he was like like a test tube baby, right? Like he's like he was like they pumped these people with steroids, and he was kind of the one that survived.
He's
like
a super soldier. Yeah, he's the Winter Soldier of the KGB. Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess they were kind of going for this like blonde, nondescript kind of look, which is kind of what they did back then, with a lot of those villains. But Sting, I don't know. Sting could have been offered the role before Bowie, especially if they had Sting in mind. I mean, it could have been, where I read about it, could have been wrong. But Sting definitely turned it down. And then Rutger Hauer, I don't know if he ever actually got offered it, but he was involved. And then Christopher Walken said he would do it.
And then by that, Christopher Walken became the first Oscar winner to be in a Bond film.
Yep, that's true. Yeah,
or at least be a villain.
Yeah,
I don't know if there was any other Oscar winners who had appeared before, but he was at least the first villain to show up as an Oscar winner.
Yeah, I don't think there was.
I don't think there was anybody else. Yeah, and Connery wouldn't get nominated for another, I don't know.
Yeah, because we found out that Fiddler on the Roof guy, he didn't actually win that year. I thought he had, but he did not win.
Yeah.
Anyways, but yeah, so we get. Wait, I'm sorry. What'd you say about Connery?
I don't think Connery had gotten nominated for an Oscar until like way later, and he didn't win until The Untouchables. So
he might have been like Man Who Would Be King or something, maybe. But yeah, no, but he definitely didn't win. So
and it definitely wasn't in a Bond movie during like the time where he had been nominated or won.
No, because he was only doing Bond movies. So
yeah,
he would get nominated for those. But yeah, that's right. I always forget Walken won for Deer Hunter. I just don't really ever think about Deer Hunter though. So that's part.
Yeah, same.
That's part of the problem. I know a lot of people love that movie. Congratulations. Enjoy it.
Yeah, I know a lot of people love it. I hate it.
I wouldn't say hate. I don't like it very much. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think I have the level of appreciation that a lot of people do.
For sure.
I think that's what it is.
Yeah. So that was Zorin. Walken at the time, which I said he had done Deer Hunter. I guess that was probably what he was mostly done for. He had done that. He was in Natalie Wood's last movie a couple years prior to this, Brainstorm. He was in a really good Sidney Lumet film with Sean Connery in the late 70s called The Anderson Tapes, which is a really, really fun movie.
Had Communion come out by this point?
Now, Communion doesn't come out till like 89, so
okay,
it's
so
a little later. Yeah, but that was that was an interesting movie. But people knew who Christopher Walken
Dead
was.
Zone?
Dead Zone had just it had come out in 83, so Dead Zone was definitely one of those. And I think I don't know if we're really at the point where people are thinking of him as like what he kind of becomes like in movies like Pulp Fiction and True Romance and like on Saturday Night Live and all that kind of stuff. Like he's not really like crazy Christopher Walken. This kind of might have been like the first role where he's kind of doing that.
It's kind of interesting to think that, right? I mean, in Annie Hall, he has like a really small role where he is basically that Christopher Walken. Like he is that Christopher Walken, and then he does Deer Hunter, and then and he does a lot of little sort of like kind of offbeat roles, and then this is his first like real. This might be the first one to get him into that area of where he's going to be cast this way a lot after this movie.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't know.
If anyone listening has not seen Annie Hall, I mean, I do recommend you just watch Annie Hall because it's a great movie, but I would at least watch that scene on YouTube or something with Christopher Walken. It is one of the best scenes ever in a comedy. It is amazing.
It really is.
I don't even know how to discuss it. You just have to watch it. It's just one of those things. Mm-hmm. But So the character of Stacey Sutton, it's Tanya Roberts ends up playing her. Priscilla Presley was supposed to play her. Another early 80s TV networks not letting people get out of their contract. She was on Dallas at the time, so they wouldn't let her out of her contract just 2 years after 4 years, I guess, after the Tom Selleck thing. And Pierce Brosnan, I guess, with Bond. That happens in a couple years. But so she couldn't get out of a role to play, so they went and got Tanya Roberts. We already made the comment about Roberts was 35 at the time when they filmed it, and her mother. I know Roger Moore was like 57, I think, and when they filmed it, so he was like 22 years older than her, and apparently he was at least 3 or 4 years older than her mother. So that was weird. Tanya Roberts was kind of big at the time, I would guess. I just think of her as that 70s show because I think that's where...
Yeah, same.
That's probably her best role that I've ever seen. I mean, she's really funny in that 70s show. But she was in a bunch of stuff around this time. She was at Charlie's Angel for one season. I think it was season 5. She was also in Sheena, which if you were a kid... That movie was rated PG, and I can't imagine how many parents were just sitting there with their kids because they're like, hey, we brought it to a PG fantasy adventure film, and there's a lot of nudity in that movie, even though it's PG. So this is pre-PG-13.
It was great being a kid back in these days.
Oh man, I just can't imagine. Like, I don't think I saw Sheena. I did not see Sheena in the theater.
I didn't see Sheena. No, I would imagine that there may have been more furor if it was a bigger movie or whatever. I don't know.
I'm just imagining like parents with their kid. Like, this would be a fun Saturday afternoon, and it's like
they just have to put their hands over their eyes and shit like that.
Yep. So she was in that. She was also in the Beastmaster. That was I remember that I watched that like on cable. And stuff.
Apparently, that was the big movie that sort of thrust her into this role. Was Beastmaster? Yeah, Beastmaster that's what they had seen her in.
Yeah, I don't know. Beastmaster. I don't know if it was it wasn't like a box office thing. I think it was more just became a popular movie like on cable and video rentals and stuff like that. I don't remember. I've seen it around that time, probably like 5 or 6 times, but I don't remember anything that happens in it. Like I couldn't. I mean, I'd have to watch it again. I couldn't tell you a thing that happens in it, but I remember kind of enjoying it back then when I was a kid.
Yeah.
She also sadly passed away just 2021, just a couple years, a year ago, I guess. She had a
kind of a shocking one. I thought, like, 71. You're getting to that age, but like, didn't feel like that was, anytime soon was going to happen.
Yeah, exactly.
So.
And she had a UTI that she just didn't realize she had one, I guess. And it by the time she got it checked out, it had actually gone into sepsis. And I think I'm saying that right. And then,
I think that's
and then eventually she, her organs just started shutting down, and they couldn't do anything about it. It's really sad, which is also another thing. Like, if you're ever feeling bad, don't be nervous to go to the doctor. Just go to the doctor. Like, because you never know. If anything doesn't feel right, check it out. So anyways, that's sad. Grace Jones, she plays Mayday She is like the odd job or the Barbara Carrera of this this movie. She's Zoran's lover, I guess. Although that scene where they kind of start making out is really uncomfortable, but because it looks like she doesn't want him to do what he's doing, but I don't know.
I think it's very literal what they show, because she's training him in combat. And I think they're really trying to say they're in a combative relationship. Womp womp is basically what they're saying. And then by the end of it, when he pins her down and wants to make out with her, she's resisting, but that's their shtick is what I'm getting.
Yeah, probably.
That's what I get at, even though that's not like, anything that's not healthy, but that's that's a villainous way, right? That's a villainous way to have a relationship.
3 minutes later, he's like, go sleep with Bond. Keep him occupied.
Right, no problem with that.
She was pretty famous for being a model and a singer. She's a very famous singer. I actually saw she was on I think it was mostly during the disco era. She's got a lot of disco hits and stuff, but she, there was like a Rolling Stone or something list, one like in the 90s or something, or 2000s. It was like the 100 top female artists, and she was on that list. So I can't say that I've listened to a lot of her stuff or anything. There probably is some stuff I've heard, just didn't know it.
I get the sense that somebody like Grace Jones has like a dual, like on one end, she's probably very hard to work with because she's so like eccentric or whatever. But I bet there's that other side is just so wonderful to be around all the time, because to be around somebody that's got that kind of energy, there's something very intoxicating about that. Absolute confidence. This is the thing. I think you nailed it there. There was a side story I read in the IMDb trivia that said when she was doing her ADR work, something on her was like rattling around or something like that. And so instead of just like, I think she just took off her clothes and did it naked, apparently, and did the ADR, in just naked. And I'm like, there you go, that's Grace Jones. And apparently, it was kind of like, I guess it was kind of hard to get her on set on time, but because she didn't like early
I don't
mornings,
mean this pervy at all. I can't imagine she was shy about her body though. That is like the most perfectly toned, like physical specimen I think I've ever seen.
Yeah, it's incredible.
And like, I don't even know, like, I don't even know what you have to do exercise wise to get to that place. I mean, I'm never going to find out. So
it's probably whatever The Rock says when he's in the shower in Central Intelligence, where he's I woke up at 5:30 in the morning every day, and and did this for 6 hours every day with no break. Basically.
There was this this is kind of a side, but it was Graham Norton. I watched like a clip of he always has like a bunch of random people on the couch, and like Chris Hemsworth was there. I think they just filmed Thor. I think Thor had just come out, and then Kirsten Dunst was there for something. I don't remember what she was doing, but they showed a picture. There's this and it's a pretty famous picture, especially at the time, of Chris Hemsworth like in the water, and like you just see from it's just like he's just ridiculous looking. And Kirsten Dunst is just kind of like, that just looks like a lot of diet and exercise. That looks terrible. Yeah. Like, I mean, she's like, I wouldn't want to, not that he looked terrible, but just that, that, because I'm sure she knows all about it because she has to get in shape for roles and all that stuff. I can't even imagine. Yeah. But Grace Jones, she was in some other stuff around that time. Conan the Destroyer had just been released, I think, a year before that, which is not very good, but she's fine in it. Vamp, which I actually just watched for the first time like about a year ago. It's a 1986 horror comedy where she plays like this vampire at a strip club that these boys meet, and I don't know. It's okay. She's very good at it. But I remember her from Boomerang.
That's
is it Strange? I forgot to write it down, but I think that's right. She's got this crazy,
Strange.
Yeah. And she takes her. There's that scene where she's at the they're trying to come up with a new scent, a new cologne at this like company, and they're at the board meeting, and she's like the one whose name is on the cologne or whatever, or the perfume. And she like takes her underwear off and like throws it on the table or something. She's like, I want it to smell like this or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. That's
so
pretty
good.
much what it is.
It's not even that great of a movie.
I mean, that's the I know that's the one thing I remember from Boomerang is that scene. Yeah.
Eartha Kitt. I remember Eartha Kitt in it too, but yeah, no, it's like I don't remember much at all about Eddie Murphy, which he's like the main person in the movie.
And there's a couple. I guess there's a couple other things I remember about that movie. But yeah, that's one of the biggest ones.
So she was in this. Patrick McNee, who I'm a fan of. I mean, I haven't seen like a ton of his stuff, but I was rewatching The Howling recently because I got that 4K, and he's like the head of the compound or whatever. He's like the psychiatrist that's like treating all these people. But he also was in the Avengers, the original, the TV show, The Avengers.
Yeah.
He actually might have been John Steed. I didn't even look that up.
He was John Steed.
Yeah. So the one that Ray Fiennes played in that terrible movie. But he was the first male, but the fourth actor that was on the original Avengers to be in a Bond film. Honor Blackman, Diana Rigg, and Joanna Lumley were the other three, which we talked about when we talked about them in their films.
And it's funny. I saw him recently in a terrible horror movie called Sweet 16.
Oh, he is in that. That's right. Yeah, we were talking about that.
And it was just it was like, how did John McNee get into this? Patrick McNee get into this? The fun thing for me, and this I've been watching these behind the scenes after every one of these movies, and Patrick McNee is the narrator on all of them until this one, and I was like sitting there like, how is he going to introduce himself on this? And they just got somebody else to do it, so I was like, oh, okay.
He plays he's the name I easily remember because Roger Moore just keeps saying Tibbet. Sir Godfrey Tibbet. What's weird about this character, and maybe I missed something, but what's really weird about this character is I always think he's like an agent, but he's not. He's a horse trainer, but he goes undercover with Roger Moore. Yeah. And it's like, why isn't he playing the horse trainer? Like, none of that makes sense to me.
Bond dragging people into his dirty world and killing them.
He gets fucking killed.
They always get killed. They always do. Like if you're like, you go to if he meets with anybody other than Felix Leiter in these movies, they always die. Like the guy played by David Yep, who plays Chuck Lee in the movie.
Yeah, that was supposed to be Felix Leiter, by the way. I don't know if you knew that.
Supposed to be. It was supposed to be Felix Leiter, but because it wasn't, they killed his ass.
Oh man, poor Chuck Lee. That is not a very well written character at all. But basically, since they were in San Francisco, they felt like they should have an Asian American. But I hate that scene so much too, because like he just asked, like the code word is like, I'd like some like crab, like broiled crab or something, or crab legs.
Soft-shell crab.
But it's like in a seafood place. It's like no one else asks for that all day. Like, aren't you? I mean, you think you'd do something a little more obscure than that. I don't know. Anyways.
I don't know if it's about seafood to understand if that's an obscure thing or not. So,
but so we'll talk. Yeah, David Yip plays Chuck Lee. That was supposed to be Felix Leiter. He's not in it very much. He's just a CIA agent in San Francisco.
Yeah.
That's working with Bond. He also played Wuhan in Temple of Doom.
Yeah.
That was the only other thing I had seen him in. I think he might have been in some TV, but like he didn't do a lot. He didn't have a lot of roles. We have returning people. Robert Brown is back for his third appearances in him, maybe. I can't remember if it's been 2 or 3. Desmond Llewellyn is back as Q, of course. Walter Gotell is back as General Gogol, the head of the KGB. He's KGB.
I thought that
KGB. He's been in it. I'm sorry.
No, he's back as the KGB guy or whatever. But like, I thought that was an interesting thing. I did not notice this in my first run through of all these Bond films. Yeah. And like I said, I think when I ran through them the first time, I was watching them in such an erratic times that I may have just missed out on this continuity. But he's in almost every one of these.
Yeah, he's
from Spy Who Loved Me on.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah, Spy Who Loved Me was his first, and then he's I think he's in Living Daylights too. I believe. I don't know if he's in License to Kill, but I think I'm pretty sure he's in Living Daylights. And then Jeffrey Keane is back as the British Minister of Defense, which is almost becoming a more worthless character than Felix Leiter for me. It's just weird. I mean, good for that guy getting paid, but I just
I kind of wonder if they just felt like the M character wasn't strong enough. Like, I don't know, like maybe Robert Brown, they didn't think he was strong enough or something.
Never
and
gave
then
him
they're
a ton to do, but yeah.
You need to make sure that he's in have his defense minister right next to him as well, so that Bond knows that they mean business. I don't know.
And I'm a little sad because this is our last Lois Maxwell as Moneypenny. She is the only actor that has been in it since Dr. No. She's the only. It's just her, and it's actually, and it's like she said. Broccoli came up to her one day and said, "Do you realize we are the only two people that have been involved with this since Dr. No?" So I thought that was interesting. But yeah. I get the impression she left on her own. I didn't read any like crazy story that like they fired her or something like that. I think she just because she wanted them to kill her.
Yeah,
and they didn't want to do that, so they just recast her. Moving forward, but I mean, she was getting a little. She passed away in 2004, so she was. I think that's right. So she was. Maybe I wrote that down. No, I'm sorry. I killed her off 3 years early. She died in 2007, so she's alive for another 22 years after this. So, and she still acts in some other things after this, but I don't know. Maybe she just didn't want to do it anymore. Yeah, so I will name a few other ones because they're kind of interesting. Willoughby Gray plays Dr. Carl Mortner / Hans Glob. He's the scientist. Well, I guess he is still a scientist, but he's also like Zoran's like, I don't know, did he kind of like, I guess he was the one that gave Zoran the steroids.
Yeah.
I still don't really completely understand that background.
That's the weird thing about, and we'll get into the plot of this movie, but that's probably the weirdest part of this movie.
Oh, it is. It absolutely is. And it's not even something like I know as a kid, I never caught that. Like that was something I caught. It's so weird. It's glossed over, and then they make jokes. They kind of make like Bond calls him like a steroid baby or something. I can't remember. They make comments about it, later in the movie. But anyways, he's kind of, I guess he's Zoran's kind of mentor, handler. I don't know what you want to call it. He kind of has his connection to the KGB that he doesn't want to work, and Zoran doesn't want to have anything to do with the KGB anymore. Gray, I think I know him mostly. He played the king in The Princess Bride. He, of course, also was Canis in the classic film Solar Babies. So, everybody knows about Solar Babies. So
that's correct.
More people know about Solar Babies than Duran Duran, I think.
I think so.
If you guys don't know what Solar Babies is, it is a science fiction movie kind of about a group of people that are, they skate. They roller skate, and they save the planet. And I don't know how that's really what happened. It's weird.
There were a million imitators afterwards.
Yeah, tons. Prayer for the Roller Boys.
Yes.
Allison Doody, I always forget she's in this movie. She plays Jenny Flex. Of course you are. I just never remember that she's in this. And she looks so different than she does because she's in Last Crusade.
She does.
She plays, I guess, technically both Indiana Jones and his dad's lover in Last Crusade.
Yeah, she plays Elsa.
Elsa, yeah, that's right. And she doesn't have I don't think she has like a ton of credits, but at least not.
No, I mean,
but anyways,
not really.
She's in this, and I get the impression like her and Mayday are kind of tight. That was, so anyway, she's in this. That's kind of fun. We already mentioned Fiona Fullerton. She plays Pola Ivanova. Dolph Lundgren makes a blink and you'll miss him cameo. He was Grace Jones' bodyguard / boyfriend at the time, and I guess they just were like, this guy looks cool. Let's put him in a uniform and make him a KGB
guy. Apparently on set when the General Gogol scene shows up, when he shows up to talk to Christopher Walken and tell him you never leave the KGB.
Yep.
He was on the set at that moment, and they needed one other guy to be on there, and they saw Dolph Lundgren. Of course, they're like, "Hey, have you ever acted before?" And then they just threw him in there.
Yeah, it's kind of, and he's just. I mean, you see him for quite a bit long. Like he's in that almost that entire scene. I mean, he's just in the background. He's just standing down to the side of the camera, and he doesn't say anything. He doesn't say anything.
And I have a hard time talking about this scene, Jonathan, because we're best friends with Dolph Lundgren.
That's true. We have talked to Dolph Lundgren.
That's right. We've talked to him, and we've hung out with him on a Zoom call.
Yes.
And and I feel like I'm a little bit too close to the situation to talk about his cameo in A View to Kill.
We have audio of him saying, I will crush you or whatever. I
will break you. It's amazing.
Yeah, it was amazing. We did not ask him to say that. He said it on his own. It was like, that's one thing. Like, I always think people probably get irritated if you ask them to say a line, but he just said it.
Yeah.
I think that's cool.
Well, and thanks to you bringing up the whole thing about the Rocky IV.
Yeah, because we interviewed him for a different movie. I don't remember. I feel bad. I don't remember the name of the movie, but it was a movie he directed with Scott Adkins, and but the Rocky IV director's cut had just come out. So we were talking to him about that from what I remember. That was fun.
Yeah,
and his daughter was there.
Was
that was fun. But I was going to say, it kind of reminds me, I was just reminded of this the other day, like in The Verdict with Paul Newman, there's like the last like 20 minutes or whatever when he's given a speech and all that stuff. Like right behind him is Bruce Willis. Just sitting there. It's so weird.
Yeah.
And that meant nothing to anybody in 1982. But man, like 10 years later, you're like, holy shit, that's Bruce Willis.
This is completely has nothing to do with anything that we're fucking talking about. But this reminds me of, there was a trivia night. You were at some of our trivia nights, right? Where it was like they had the countdown, the Step It Down challenge or whatever. One of them at the 15-point clues, like this actor was in The Verdict, and he was in Nobody's Fool, and he was in some other movie I can't remember. And I was like, oh, it's fucking Paul Newman. Let's do it. And then send it off. And I didn't know about the third one, so I was like, usually you just a couple, and it's like you just zoom it up there, and then the 10-point clue was like all these Bruce Willis movies.
Like
I was like, oh motherfucker, where was he in The Verdict?
But yeah, he's just sitting in the background. I listened to a podcast people talk about Paul Newman movies the other day. That's why I heard about that. That's why I was reminded of that. But I also didn't know that he apparently didn't even read the script for Nobody's Fool. He just knew that Paul Newman was in it, so I'll do that. He didn't care. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Especially when you hear a lot of stories about him being a little hot-headed and stuff like that. It's nice to hear stuff like that.
Yeah.
So the only other thing I had, because you can't actually really see her. I might have even brought this up when we talked about Maude Adams in one of our other couple episodes. We were talking about the movies that she was in, but there's like supposedly she has a cameo. Like she was in the Fisherman Wharf scene. Like she's just an extra in the background.
Yeah.
I can't find her. And a lot of people think maybe that whatever that shot was just got edited. But if she is in it, this is her third appearance.
Yeah, that was a funny thing. Like in the behind the scenes, Maude Adams shows up to talk about how she might be in this movie, but she was never even able to confirm it.
Yes.
And then in the IMDb, there are 2 or 3 different interpretations of who it could be in there, but nobody's got real solid evidence that it's her. So that's one of those things that it's like, it kind of sucks because you wish that somebody would have Zaprudered this thing enough to just know where
Especially
she
now,
is, but no one has ever been able to do it.
Or people just don't care because nobody watches this movie anymore.
Yeah, that's true.
But that's
true.
like in Halloween 2, the original Halloween 2, which is a weird thing to have to say. Dana Carvey has like a one scene in that movie, and like.
Oh yeah, that's right.
He's the cameraman for the news reporter outside of the Myers house. But like, I knew, like, people said that he was in that movie forever. But then when I would ever watch the movie, I would just forget. And so like, I didn't know until we send it. I didn't know who he was in the movie. And then all of a sudden, I'm like, fuck, that's Dana Carvey.
Yeah.
Like, now I know he's in. Now I know where he is.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
So crazy.
So that's kind of that's the cast. Music, we made some talks about Duran, that the very nobody knows who that band is, but
that's right.
John Barry is back composing the score. This is not the last. We'll actually be talking about him again next week. The theme song, which is called A View to a Kill, it was written by Barry and Duran Duran. Duran Duran also obviously performs the song. This was the first Bond song to reach #1 on the U.S. charts, on the Billboard charts.
Insane.
It was #2 on the U.K. charts. It was the highest ranking Bond film on the U.K. charts until that Sam Smith song for Spectre was. I guess people just love Sam Smith in UK.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know. I didn't look. I should have looked up. I don't know why I didn't, to see if there had been other Bond songs after A View to a Kill. I don't know if Skyfall, maybe. I don't know if there's ever been another one to hit #1, but I could be wrong.
I don't know. And I mean, even though Tina Turner did GoldenEye, I doubt that one hit #1. And even, I mean, There might be some. I doubt Madonna's song did,
not.
even though I wouldn't be shocked.
No, I wouldn't
be
either. It's
shocked
Madonna.
if it did. Like, oh, it's because it's Madonna,
Yeah.
But I don't think so. Like, you got to think about like maybe Billie Eilish or somebody
That's
like
what
that
I'm saying,
may have
Adele,
one. That's
that maybe that one.
Yeah.
But like. And obviously, like I'm saying, number one is the first to reach number one. Many Bond songs prior to this were on the charts. I mean, Live and Let Die obviously was on the charts like that. It's crazy to think though, like Live and Let Die wasn't, but I think Live and Let Die became more famous later. Guns N' Roses covers it, and then Paul McCartney becomes more of a legend and all that kind of stuff. But anyways, yeah. So View to a Kill, From a View to a Kill, it's like it's so 80s. Like it's just, I mean, I'm not shocked that it got to number. Whether you like it or not, I'm not shocked that it hit number one.
Oh yeah, all those
Dun, 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 dun.
all that
Please don't
stuff.
sue us,
Yeah,
Duran Duran. Like a phoenix to a flame.
Google Hangouts is like reducing noise. You're too loud, Chris.
Duran, they got involved after reportedly the bassist John Taylor, who was a huge Bond fan, was at a party that Albert Broccoli was at. And he asked Albert Broccoli, when are you going to get someone decent to do one of your theme songs? He does say after that he was very drunk when he asked that question.
Yeah. He was very drunk, but he was also very, very right because of what had happened in the last couple of.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think he probably feels bad when he's like, "Oh wait, Paul McCartney did one." God damn.
Yeah. But I
like,
think he
probably felt terrible.
I think he's talking about the last couple that had come out. I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe he's talking about all of them. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. But it's funny. And he might have just been being a little like cheeky too. He might have just been kind of being silly. But yeah. So they got to do the song after that. The Beach Boys, California Girls. We already mentioned that plays at the beginning. It's not the Beach Boys. I did not know that. I just always assumed it was the Beach Boys. But it's actually a tribute band called Gildea Park. That's performing it. Maybe they paid
which is
less
weird
for
because the subtitles say it's Beach Boys. But
yeah.
So that's
I know. Everything I read it. Yeah, it was this band. It was a tribute band, which I'm not surprised the guy sounds like him. They sound like him because a lot of times tribute bands do sound a lot alike. It's I watched Rockstar. I know how it works. Right,
yeah.
So
exactly
because that's an accurate depiction.
Absolutely. Mark Wahlberg
and
Jennifer Aniston. I was going to try to say something clever there, and it just didn't work at all.
I totally forgot Jennifer Aniston's in that movie. Poor Jennifer Aniston. Actually, that movie, like, I don't hate that movie. I don't know that I like it, but like I've watched it weirdly like 5 or 6 times. It's just I don't know. Mark Wahlberg, it's hard to take him seriously sometimes, and that's definitely a movie where I have an issue.
Yeah.
On its opening weekend, it had the biggest opening for a Bond film. It made $13.3 million it was Memorial Day weekend. But it still only finished second that weekend because Rambo: First Blood Part 2, which was the number 2 movie of the year behind Back to the Future. It's crazy how big that Rambo movie was. I didn't see that forever because I think that was one where my mom was like, "Yeah, we're not watching that," because she knew that would be insanely violent. But it wasn't the most violent because
that's the most parodied Rambo too. Like it's in Hot Shots and it's in UHF.
Oh, that's right. Critical response was very mixed. As of today, I looked it up. It's at 37% on Rotten Tomatoes. The thing I was reading said 38% from a few years ago, so I guess it hasn't fallen that far. Audience score too is only at 40%. So whoever's rating stuff on Rotten Tomatoes doesn't really like it either. Which I was a little surprised by because I do know people. I've talked to people that really enjoyed this movie, so I thought it would be a little higher than that. But anyways, most of the criticism.
It has moments. It does.
It's not like the worst thing ever by any means. But most of the criticism, which is really shitty, was focused on Roger Moore's age. He was 57 at the time of filming. Paul Addonazio of the Washington Post compared watching Roger Moore in this film to watching women fall all over Gabby Hayes. Gabby Hayes is one of those people that, like, you don't know who it is, but you're going to Google that person, and you're going to be like, oh, yeah. He's, like, always, like, the old guy in the Westerns that's got like the long beard and like goofy teeth and he's got a hat on. He's just, he's a drunk, or he's like the town, like crazy. It was, I don't know. It was really mean. I don't know why that guy.
He's funny. I didn't ever Paul Addonazio is a screenwriter too. I think he did Quiz Show.
Wait, that's right.
And maybe Donnie Brasco. One of the he's done a bunch.
No, you're right. He's definitely written movies after this. But which is interesting you say that about writers, because Neil Gaiman for some reason wrote a review of this film.
Oh, really?
For Imagine Magazine. And he said, when Grace Jones went to bed with Moore, I was sure the producers had hit on a way to kill the old fellow with dignity. It's like, I love you, Neil Gaiman.
Paul Adonaggio did do quiz show, Donnie Brasco. He also did some Michael Crichton stuff like Disclosure and Sphere. So
hey, I mean, I don't know what Redford changed or if anything, but I mean, Quiz Show is amazing. So
and he's still to
Donnie
this
Brasco's
day
amazing, huh?
Still to this day is writing a bunch of stuff. So
But he was a dick to Roger Moore for no reason.
Yeah, he was.
Comparing him to Gabby, and a dick to Gabby Hayes. I mean, Gabby Hayes wasn't doing anything. He was just chilling in his grave.
That's right.
Anyways, we've talked about these IGN Entertainment Weekly rankings before, and usually it's kind of crazy, but they were pretty down on this. It was the 5th worst Bond film on EW's list. I think this is the one from 2006, so I think there's like 25 movies at this time. And then IGN picked it as the 4th worst. So, Tanya Roberts, talk about another shitty fucking organization. Tanya Roberts was nominated for a Golden Raspberry Award.
Right.
In the worst actress category. She lost to Linda Blair because Linda Blair apparently had 3 like really bad films that year that she was in.
Was Repossessed this year?
No, Repossessed I think was like a couple years later, but
okay.
But it was stuff I hadn't seen. But like one of them was Savage Streets. Like I've seen the cover of that. She's like got like a gun and she's like dressed up like a hooker or something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I don't remember what the other 2 were. I didn't write them down. But yeah, she won for like those 3 movies. So Tanya Roberts didn't win. And like Tanya Roberts, like, I mean, she's not particularly good in this, but I don't think that has anything to do with her. Like,
it's what we keep saying about a lot of these, right? Where that you have dudes in a dude world writing for dudes, and then they try to put women in, and they're supposed to be objects of desire and things like that. Of course, they don't have any characters a lot of times, and then you have to get somebody like Grace Jones who comes in and like apparently does way more than what's on the page to stand out a lot of times.
Yeah.
So
or Barbara Carrera, which we talked about last week. No, absolutely. And I mean, and that actually, Grace Jones, I mean, not intentionally, but Grace Jones being in this movie, and not that we should just compare women, but Grace Jones being in this movie, and I would even argue the actress that's in the one scene in the jacuzzi, the Tchaikovsky, like they just, I don't know, they get like more fun stuff to say, I guess. I don't know what it is, but like that kind of doesn't reflect as well on the Tanya Roberts character either. But nobody would have taken that Tanya Roberts character and done anything else with it.
Yeah,
I mean,
I don't
Priscilla
think so.
Presley isn't making that all of a sudden an amazing role.
No,
It's a shitty written role. It's basically like the Barbara Bach character or something like that. But, she's not like an agent, but she's still like, she wants revenge or whatever. So that kind of bullshit. So that's all I really had like on the behind the scenes. Is if you ready to move on to the review, even though we've kind of already reviewed it, but
I think
plenty
so.
to say.
I don't think there's anything else in the behind the scenes at all that I can remember. So yeah, let's do it.
Our next segment is called Review to a Kill.
I've got you in my sights.
Get the fuck out of my sight before I demolish you.
What we've got here is failure to communicate.
There's no need to shout. I'm not shouting!
Why don't you stop your whining and get on with it? I've heard this shit before.
We are going to give you our thoughts on whatever film we are discussing this week. This week we are discussing A View to a Kill. Real quick, I will give you a little plot synopsis. The recovery of a microchip off the body of a fellow agent leads James Bond to a mad industrialist who plans to create a worldwide microchip monopoly by destroying California's Silicon Valley.
And is that an IMDb synopsis?
Yeah. I always enjoy reading those because I think they're fun.
Because they try to condense some insanity into one paragraph a lot of times.
And I mean, that is pretty much what it's about, but like the way it goes about telling that story is a whole different thing. I guess. I don't know. What are your overall thoughts? Oh, let's get that.
So I'm a big story person. Like if the story is good, I can pretty much tolerate anything else after that. It is such a weird one for me that they they learn about some goings on, and they're like, okay, we need to investigate this Zoran guy, and he's been really hard to figure out. I don't know how he's been hard to figure out, but anyway, they go to a horse race, and that's where they're like, oh, there must be something going on with these horses, and then you find out that they've been implanting microchips into the horse. And at just the right moment, if they can just hide this little thing in a cane or a whip or something like that, and it injects steroids into the horse so that they'll be faster by the end of it. And I'm like, how do you get past any kind of drug board on this type of thing? Like, it's not like they don't test the horses after the race. You know, like they're gonna test the horse and not find steroids after you've injected it with steroids. So
especially anyway, I guess it would be the same. I'm just to chime in on what you're saying. I guess it would be the same at every race, where like the horse would be kind of towards the back, and then all of a sudden it would just shoot up to the front. I mean, that would not go unnoticed.
Yeah, and I remember, I don't even know anything about horses, but I remember. I remember a Kentucky Derby a while back. It was only a couple years ago, where Bob Baffert won yet again, and I don't know what happened in the rest of the story. Maybe he got exonerated on this or whatever. I don't know how that case ended up, but his horse won yet again, and I was like, Jesus, man, you see this enough, you start thinking maybe there's something going on. And sure enough, like 2 days later, there was all sorts of like, you know, stories about maybe doping the horses and so on and so forth. So going back to what you're saying, if this keeps happening, people are going to think that there's definitely something going on. I don't know how you get, maybe they explain that somewhere in the movie, that the steroids don't show up in the system or something.
Yeah, maybe.
I don't know.
I missed it if they did.
But that's not even really his. I mean, I guess that's how he gets a bunch of businessmen on board to pay $100 million each.
Oh my God!
To flood Silicon Valley. Go ahead. And yeah, that scene is very reminiscent of Goldfinger, where like Goldfinger goes in and he has all the weird like moving parts while everybody's like, hey, you know,
hey, Joey Bag of Donuts over here, hey,
right, yeah, exactly. And you know, of course, you always have the one guy who's like, I'm not going to be a part of this, and you're like, oh, that's totally fine, and then you just kill him afterwards.
Well, he just admitted he was going to murder people. Like that's what's crazy about that scene, because I kind of want to stay on this scene for a second, because he basically said, I'm going to destroy Silicon Valley. I mean, I guess maybe they could have been thinking, well, maybe he's going to do it after everybody goes home. I don't know, but like, it's weird. And that guy's so casual about it. Like, I just don't really want to do this. I don't want to give you my money. And then he's like, well, can you go outside then? And he's like, yeah, if you want me to, that's cool. Like,
yeah. There's like, probably not.
How are you not scared to death that you might get killed?
Yeah, there's probably not anything that's going to kill me after this. There's probably not a stairway that'll turn into a slide that'll make me fall out of the blimp. So yeah, he wants $100 million from all these people, and I guess combined with all the people that are in that room, he's already got $1 billion, and then he's going to corner the microchip market by flooding Silicon Valley. He's been hoarding microchips. That's what Bond stumbles on by going to a horse race, saying, "Oh, that horse must be doing something weird." Then they go out to this compound where like there's a horse hotel that they go to, and like that's where they find out about the microchips and the steroids and everything. But that's not even really the I mean, I guess, like I said, I guess that's how you get a bunch of businessmen interested. You start doing like, you know, you get horses, and you put this microchip in, your horse wins, and then you can put those horses out to stud and make even more money, and so on and so forth. I guess that's what this. It's very loosely connected though to what he's actually doing in the rest of the movie. That's what's so weird about it.
Why is MI6 asked to investigate illegal doping of horses? Like maybe that is something they would be asked to do, but it was just weird. Like I don't. Yeah. How does that fall under there?
There's some discussion, I think, with M and the Minister of Defense that somehow ties England into this.
Yeah.
Somehow, and I don't remember it. I can't tell you for a fact that I heard anything. It just felt. I think that's there's a loose connection. They don't know that Zoran is doing a lot of stuff here in San Francisco. They just know that it's something very tangentially related to what's going on out here in England. And I guess the horse races, where was the horse race? Was that in England? I don't even know.
They're at his compound or whatever. So
yeah, I don't know.
The horse race at the beginning, I guess that was in England. I think so, because Moneypenny was there, and because she has. I don't know.
I think that's what it is.
Apparently.
I think that's their very loose way of getting Bond into this. Is they go, this is technically happening in the UK, so we'll look into it. But so yeah, I'm not a big fan of that. On top of the story, I appreciate the insanity of this story. I very much appreciate that. I really think that's an awesome thing to do. Blow up San Andreas Fault and cause 2 earthquakes and flood the Silicon Valley. That's a very classic Bond villain type of thing to do.
That Halley's Comet thing doesn't sound much crazier than that, is the funny thing.
It doesn't. It doesn't. Like, you should, if you had the choice between Halley's Comet and this, I don't know. You would if you're comparing both of them, like, well, the Halley's Comet one is only slightly more insane than this, so I guess we'll go with the other one. So yeah, I can appreciate that. I can appreciate the insanity of the Christopher Walken performance, who's clearly he's having fun doing what he's doing in this. But I don't like any of the action in this movie. No. I don't like any of the like I said, the sound in this movie sounds awful to me. Just general sounds, the gunfire that we talked about with Christopher Walken blowing away all those people who are going to die anyway. That sound was like just wrecked my ears. And then like. Yeah, I didn't overall like this at all. I'm with most of the people, I think. This one.
By the way, when you were talking about that one actor, I forgot. I can't believe I forgot. I guess I just overlooked him in my list. But Patrick Bachchow plays Scarpine, which is Zorin's like other hench person. I just thought of it because he's down there when he's shooting everybody and stuff.
Well, and I was trying to think of how to talk about this, because there's in San Francisco, there's a one of the parts of the plot is that the government is giving Zorin, a lot of leeway with his oil wells and causing these things that are registering like 2.5 on the Richter scale when he's blowing water out. He's blowing water down into the ground using his oil wells or something like that. So the government's kind of corrupt on this, but the guy playing the head of that department is Daniel Benzali.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Who was it's hard to know who that is at first. But he was in Murder One, which was sort of a short-lived show. I don't know if it was supposed to be a limited series or what, but it was well received show, and he was well received, and he's one of these real hard ass kind of guys. So when you see him in this wimpy role in View to a Kill, it took me a second to figure out that that's who that was. But yeah, there's that's whole scene. That whole thing ends up with Bond and Tanya Roberts in an elevator shaft that's burning, and they're trying to burn down the building. And again, it's a normal thing in Bond movies. We understand this, where Bond, the villain doesn't want to just straight up kill Bond, doesn't want to shoot him. It's not good enough for them. I think on the 14th one of these, it's at this point, it's just nauseating to watch these villains do this. We're going to put you in a burning building. We know your reputation at this point. You've survived this 13 other times. I'm gonna be the one that burns you in an elevator shaft, and I'll never, because when Bond shows up to the mines later, Walken is like, oh, it's Bond. He knows immediately that Bond is there, so he knows that Bond could have easily escaped that. Okay, anyway, so it's just another one of those where I'm like, and I don't like the fire truck thing at all. I think that of all the things, this is another one where Bond is kind of unlikable. This is a building that's on fire, and he is stealing a fire truck in the middle of a fire that it has not been put out yet, just so that he can save his own ass. And he could easily just be arrested and then like tell them, hey, I'm British Secret Service, and prove it, and go about his merry way. I guess there's a time element involved. He doesn't want it, but I found it. It's extremely unlikable stuff like this, and when he's chasing after Grace Jones in the car, and the car keeps breaking in half and everything. He nearly kills 1 million people going after her, and he doesn't even know like, yeah, she's killed somebody, but like, is that worth like going down? Is that worth nearly killing everybody on the Paris streets to go after her? I don't think so. Like,
exactly. He doesn't even really know what else is going on yet. I think I've said this in past episodes. I'm almost positive this is the Bond movie I've seen the most times, because like I said, this came out right before I turned 9. I did not see it in the theater, but it would have been on cable like a year later, and I was 10. So this is like a perfect movie for like a 10-year-old to watch.
Yeah, for sure.
I probably had a VHS tape that was like Back to the Future, Rocky IV, View to a Kill. Where I taped it off TV or whatever. So I know I've seen this movie so many times, but I've only seen it a couple times, like as an adult, because it's just, it's a very different movie as an adult. I don't even know how much I liked it as a kid. It was just action and it was fun. So I watched it a bunch. But yeah, I don't like it. I don't like it at all. It's one of my least favorite Bond films so far. I think I noticed things too, because we're covering these so close. I like Grace Jones. I really do. Like, I like her, and I think for at least half the movie, she's interesting. But watching this right after I watched what Barbara Carrera did with a very similar role, and that's not Grace Jones' fault. I mean, she didn't write the script, but that takes it down a little bit. And also, while I was watching this, I was thinking maybe it's good they killed Barbara Carrera's character, because Grace Jones' character just ends up becoming like this fucking damsel in distress at the end, and it's awful. Like, she's upset, and she's just like, I can't believe he did this to me. He loved me. Just kind of that bullshit. She didn't say that, but that's kind of the sentiment, though. Because she thought he cared about her or whatever. But and they even did this thing during the filming. We didn't mention this, but like when they're in the water and there's all that stuff, all the electricity and stuff is firing off. That actually genuinely brought a reaction to her to scream, because she thought it was actually like they didn't tell her that it was. And Grace Jones went to John Glenn and said, "You didn't tell me about that." And he goes, "Yeah, I got the reaction I wanted, didn't I?" Or whatever. Oh my God.
But it's the character that you set up is not that character, though.
Exactly.
That's what's upsetting about it. So like, you may have gotten your genuine reaction. Good for fucking you, John Glenn. But you didn't get the character is completely changed now.
And she needs
someone
Bond
who's really
to save
cool.
her.
Yeah, exactly.
It's ridiculous.
And then now she does a noble thing at the end. I thought that's pretty cool, where she stays on the handbrake or whatever it is, and so that the little cart goes out with the bomb and everything. And I think that's pretty cool. It's like, get Zorin for me. I like all that. But But the fact that her whole character changes and has to be saved is sucky.
I agree. Christopher Walken is another reason I hear people like this movie. I don't think he's bad by any means. But he's really subdued for the majority of the movie, which makes that scene with the guns even fucking crazier, because I feel like he just goes from 0 to 60 really quick. And he's supposed to be psychotic. Like,
he's supposed to be a psychopath. That's the thing that kills me.
They keep saying that.
I mentioned this. The reason why that gun thing at the end seems so out of place is they've just been saying he's psychopathic the whole time.
But he hadn't shown it.
And you get the idea that, he may have some real crazy, he may be real crazy when the General Gogol guy shows up and says, "Hey, you were a super soldier," or whatever. And like, it would have been nice to see him doing more crazy stuff all the way through it.
Exactly. Or just not have that scene with the gun.
Yeah, exactly.
But they do. They keep. like it's like they keep saying like this guy's psychotic, but it's like, yeah, but he's not really like he seems really in control, and he knows. There's one of the scenes I like, and one of the moments I like when walking. It's a really small scene, but it's when he invites. He still thinks. Oh, we didn't even mention that Bond is undercover as fucking this guy named St. John Smythe.
Yeah, John St. Smythe or something like that.
Then he's like, it's St. John Smythe.
Well, this is the only movie I remember in a long time where he actually uses aliases throughout, because he uses
that's true.
like a John is some other name he uses as a reporter for the Financial Times or whatever.
Right. I think that's just like John Smith or it's nothing. It's nothing
John
crazy.
Stack or John
something like that.
Something like that.
It kind of feels Fletch-like, which is funny because they both came out this year and they finished right by each other in the box office.
Right.
But yeah, anyways, that St. John Smythe. So Walken still doesn't know what the deal with him is. They're pretty sure that he went to like the barn and was messing with the steroids or whatever, but they can't prove it. So Walken has him come to the office, and Walken is given the impression that he's looking up on his computer like information about horses that he could sell him, because Bond is pretending to be somebody interested in horses. And there's like a camera behind a mirror, and so it takes a picture of him, and then like while Walken's talking, he's like looking at the computer, and then all of a sudden it shows his face and it says, "This is James Bond," which I think that's kind of crazy. There's just some computer program that like tells you. But it's a cool scene because it's just the way Walken plays it, and Walken like doesn't miss a beat, just keeps talking to him like, we'll go check out your stallion, we'll get you a stallion. I don't know, it's like a cool scene, but like that is not like a psychotic person. Like to me, I mean, that just doesn't like that seems like a person that knows exactly what he's doing and isn't going by emotion at that point, Well, I guess that's
which also leads to this just weird.
I guess you don't really have emotions if you're truly psychotic. I just that. Yeah, so no, that was not what I meant.
But it leads to that weird scene where he has to stay on the horse or whatever and go through all the different like booby-trapped equestrian stunts
that like a professional horse rider
like,
wouldn't be able to do, but somehow Bond does it.
Yeah, and then that's when at the very end they wheel out, his buddy who they killed, and he's in the back of the Rolls Royce dead. Because he goes off to clean his car, and Grace Jones is in the back seat the whole time, and then strangles him in the car wash.
Crazy.
Yeah, but yeah, they wheel that Rolls Royce in during that event or whatever, and he gets off the horse because it's his buddy or whatever, and Christopher Walken's like, "Well, you lost."
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, he says, I actually wrote that down, and then Bond says killing Tippett was a mistake, and then Zoran's like, "Well, I'm going to make that same mistake twice." Or something. So
yeah.
But yeah, no, it's silly. But I do like that bit. I also like the bit shortly before that where Bond has to get back into the house without being caught. He starts to go to his room, but he can see the lights on, so he knows like Walken and Grace Jones are probably in there. So he runs to Grace Jones's bedroom, and then she just and he's just like, because she had said something to him earlier, like, I'll take care of you, or you'll be taken care of, or something. And he's like, I hope you do personally.
Yeah.
And then he's in the bed, and he's like, I was just waiting on you to take care of me personally or whatever. And then she's like, I guess I'll have sex with him. I don't know. It's just it's kind of a funny scene. And then also, like, Zoran's like, yeah, go ahead and have sex with him. That's cool.
Right. I've had sex with you just 5 seconds ago, but yeah, go ahead.
It's funny. And I like the, like, Bond gets on top of her, and then she immediately, like, throws him over and gets, I don't know. Yeah,
I'm in control here.
Like a Bond hookup moment. It's probably one of the more interesting ones. And then they throw in that whole thing, like the KGB thing is irritating because then he goes off and he meets the Olga character or whatever, and we don't know who this is, but he knows her, and then they have a weird scene, and that's where she does that. I've got bubbles in my Tchaikovsky because he starts playing, and then there's this scene that like. He goes in the car, she goes back in the car with Gogol, and they put the tape in, and it looks straight up out of a scene from Seinfeld. We even put I don't know if it was in the actual Sin part or if we just did an outtake, but when they put the tape in and it starts playing music or whatever, or something, and then they both give that like sitcom look, like what, and I think we put in like a bow bow.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't really have a ton to say about it. It's just Oh, and also the other thing I really noticed that this movie really rips off Goldfinger. Like this movie, I mean, there's like I think it's funny when it says we just took the title, but then we wrote an original script. Like, what is original about this script? Like, I mean, you've got the meeting, you've got the fact that they go to his like estate. I don't remember if Goldfinger had horses or not. I can't remember, but he had like planes and all that kind of stuff. But anyways, there's this whole sequence that takes place at the estate where Bond's, I guess he's not pretending to be somebody else in Goldfinger. I don't think he's supposed to be an agent though. Because he's saying his name. Oh, no, he knows who he is at that point. That's right. Goldfinger takes him to the estate because that's when he gets out of killing him because Bond is like, I know more than you think I do about Operation,
Yeah. The whole thing about Goldfinger is that, and they say this in this movie too, to go back to your point, is that if you kill me, they're going to send even more agents this way. And so that's somehow a deterrent. I don't know why, but it is. They say that in Gold. He does that in Goldfinger, and just to kind of like, okay, well then I'll just keep you here so that you can't report back, I guess. And then the same thing happens in this movie as well.
And then like I said, the stuff with Tanya Roberts is weird. It's not fun. There's not like they'd have no chemistry because like you could easily be her dad or whatever, but they have zero chemistry and.
I don't know, that shower scene at the end is pretty hot.
That's Q's in there, right? Or Q has a camera or whatever.
Q's got his robot. Q's got a robot that comes in and sees them. And there's a scene, like there's a shot of Q almost like he's getting like randy about it too. And I was like, no, we don't need that. But like, I didn't think of it this way, but Roger Moore throwing the towel at the end is like him throwing in the towel for the end of the James Bond franchise and everything. I hadn't thought about that either, I didn't even think about that either. But so yeah, that's kind of a neat thing.
I just realized the other day that AI came out in 2001. I was like, oh, that makes sense. Never thought about that before. I was like,
yep.
Anyways, that's. But no, that's a good point. But I love like it's an 80s movie too because it has like a shitty robot in it. Like, welcome to 1985.
Always. Happy birthday, Polly.
Jesus Christ. This movie's just not good. It's definitely in that lower tier. It's probably a better movie than Man with the Golden Gun. I mean, it is definitely a better movie than Man with the Golden Gun. Man with the Golden Gun might be more...
It is clearly better than Man with the Golden Gun.
Man with the Golden Gun might be a little more fun to watch. I don't know, but I mean, I don't really want to have to make that decision anytime soon. So.
I don't know. We talked about it in the Man with the Man with the Golden Gun reviews that it feels like it was shot for TV.
Exactly.
It feels like a Columbo episode.
This
or
is
something
a movie.
Like that.
Like this is they're going for it here. They're trying to be a big blockbuster spectacle and pretty much moving forward. I mean, that's pretty much what we get. Yeah, Man with the Golden Gun was a weird like, let's see if we can do this cheap.
Yep.
That's fair. Yeah, so it's not that bad, but it's in that. I mean, it's not far above it. Like it's. I mean, I definitely like as far as what we've rewatched recently. I like this less than most. It's a little more than it's just dull. Like it's pretty bad. Like you said, I think the story is just so corrupt. Like it just doesn't work. And the character and the stuff with Zorin doesn't make sense. And then all of a sudden he's like batshit crazy. I don't know. Is there anything else you want to talk about, or you want to do our rankings?
Let's do our rankings.
Awesome. So for the rankings, we are now going to rank this film in 5 different categories. Our scale will be based on something that Bond holds near and dear to his heart, as long as they are shaken and not stirred, and that would be martinis. So for each category, we're going to rank from 1 to 5 martinis, 5 being the best damn liquid that has ever passed your lips, and 1 being the well liquor you had to settle for or were too drunk to care that night. So first, we've definitely already kind of talked about the story. I mean, for me, I think it's a 2-star. I don't really have much else to add.
If it wasn't for the insanity of the story, I'd probably put this at a 1. But the insanity kind of gives it a little bit of elevation to it because that's kind of fun.
Yeah,
but,
and Grace Jones is decent for most of the movie. I mean, Grace Jones is fun for most of the movie. She's definitely more than decent, but she's fun. I like that character. But then, like I said, that's not her fault. But like, it's watching that like 2 weeks after I watched Barbara Carrera. It's hard not to compare them.
Yeah.
But anyways, I do like when they have like the female hinge people like that. I think they're fun. The Bond. This is Roger Moore's last performance. What did you think of it?
Well, because I mean, he knows that he's too old to do a lot of this stuff, and they know he's too old to do a lot of this stuff. I think because, and this is weird, like performance-wise, Roger Moore is, I think, as good as he always has been, but like there's a little bit of, I can see a little bit of exhaustion in this role. I think. I don't think, especially like it's funny on the behind the scenes they show, because it's Moore's last one. They do a montage of clips, and you're seeing a lot of this stuff from all the older ones and everything. And you're like, wow, he's got a lot of life in his eyes in some of these 70s Bonds, and I think that's kind of like been knocked out of him by this point. So this performance, I'm going to give a 2 out of 5, because I really do think he's feeling it at this point, and he's got a couple of lines here and there, but the fact that he's not in a lot of these action scenes himself, the stunt doubles have taken nearly completely over by this point. And when he does show up, they're always these weird green screen inserts and stuff like that. So yeah, I think this is a 2 out of 5. I don't think his acting is bad. I just think that he's just worn out at this point.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. I think it's pretty clear he's uncomfortable around some of like the female, some of the actresses and stuff, just because of the age difference stuff. I mean, I think it's mostly the Tanya Roberts stuff, but he just really looks out of his element when he's trying to like be romantic with her or whatever. But he's fine. I mean, yeah, like you said, I don't. It might not even technically be his worst performance, but it might be the only one that I'm giving a 2. I can't remember if I've given a 2 to any of the other ones, but he just doesn't seem to be really that invested. He's just kind of there. And, like you're saying, Roger Moore giving 50% is still better than a lot of actors, but it still feels like he's giving 50%.
Right.
The villain. So we've got Zorin, we've got Mayday, we've got Scarpine. Scarpine's interesting. That's a guy, like, what did I say that actor's name was? I felt like I had seen him in a bunch of stuff, but then when I looked up his IMDb, I'm like, I haven't seen him in much of anything. It's Patrick Bacall. He was in he's in that movie The Rapture with Mimi Rogers, which I've seen a few times, but he was also in Panic Room. He's in Clear Present Danger. I think he's probably, maybe I did see him in this because he was on the TV show The Pretender, which I did not watch. But like a lot of people, like a lot of kids from that time period, my parents watched it, so I would see it every now and then. So maybe I saw him in that. But that's kind of your villains. And then I guess Daniel Benzali, of course.
Yep.
Very memorable.
Yeah. I Christopher Walken is fine. Like, but again, like the weird character traits that they are inconsistent with take his ranking down. I like Mayday a lot, but like I don't like how they change her character as well by the end. I'm gonna have to give this a 2 out of 5 as well. The villains,
same.
Even though I think there is the element of being a 3 or even a 4 in a way better movie. There, and I don't think it has anything to do with the actors. Again, I don't think we've blamed the actors really that much. There've been some times where I think, well, this person is not the right actor for this role, and so it is the actor sometimes. But that's the movie's fault for picking them in the first place, I think, and not really the actor's fault. But in this case, I think they've got the right people. They just don't have the right story to go along.
And I think that also and that's why also I think like it, like I like I said, I know it's better than Man with the Golden Gun, but I think like expectation wise going into this movie, you're like, you got Christopher Walken, you got Grace Jones, like how is this not better? Like it's like they totally waste them. Like,
yeah,
I mean, I know, like let's say they did. I mean, Christopher Walken's quite a bit older by 2006, but let's just say like that Casino Royale movie is made in 1985. I mean, Christopher Walken would kill in the Mads Mikkelsen role. I mean, he would just kill it.
Yeah, he would.
And it's like, but we got Christopher Walken, and this is the one he's in. I don't know. It just sucks. I'm a 2 as well. Gadgets. So this one actually does have a lot more than I thought, but none of them are that interesting. But you've got the iceberg submarine, you got the camera ring, which he's like just taking pictures of people. There's those sunglasses where he can like see through windows or doors or something. I hate that the fucking sunglasses, which look really cool, they're used so he can see Zoran write a check. Like that's what he.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah,
he has the mini copier so he can copy the check. I mean, I don't know. The gadgets are like
the gadgets are like. I mean, the gadgets are a 2 out of 5. Yeah. And again, I think maybe, and I think we've discovered this over the 16 now, although the 14 canon bonds. The gadgets are something that always have seemed like a huge deal, and maybe they're a huger deal in the Brosnans than anything. But there's I guess there's been enough gadgets in this franchise that they seem like they're way bigger than they are.
Exactly. But in the individual movies,
they just never have been. Yeah.
I agree. All right, this might be where we differ. The Bond song from A View to a Kill by the I can't even remember the name of the band. They're so unknown. I think it's Duran
Have some
Duran.
Repeating name, I think. Yeah, we are going to differ on this one. I don't like this song at all. This is a 2 out of 5 for me. I like Duran Duran. There's a lot of songs that I've heard a million times. I have given this song a chance many times, and I just can't. It's not my kind of song. There's not a great chorus to it. I don't think there's not a good build up to it. It's just kind of there, and it's your 80s fluff for me. So, I think it's fun. It's Duran Duran, and they're saying the title of the movie and everything. I don't know. It's not my cup of tea. 2 out of 5.
I would think in most situations this would not be my cup of tea. I love the fuck out of this song. This is a song, like, I mean, I don't really listen to, well, I mean, I do have, like, Sirius XM. I do listen to radio sometimes, but I don't know that I listen to channels that, like, this song would play. But, like, back in the day, like, when I was listening to radio more regularly, or, like, if I'm listening to my playlist or something, and you better believe the song's in many of my playlists, if it comes up, like, I immediately get, like, so happy. Like, I'm just, like, it's just one of those songs that just immediately, like, that bow, 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 bow. I'm like, hell fucking yeah, here we go. The lyrics are fucking ridiculous, but they're like so perfect for like what I think like that over like what people think of Bond, you know, like so just like overdone and just like these crazy like metaphors, you know, a phoenix to a flame and all that kind of stuff. Like it just feels like like this might be like the Bond song. Like if you're talking about a song that is about James Bond, it doesn't get much more Bond than this. Like, so this is a 5 for me.
Okay. All right.
At least up till now, this is my favorite Bond song. I've often said it's my favorite overall. I'm not saying it's the best, but like Live and Let Die is a much better orchestrated musical number. Goldfinger is a much better orchestrated musical number. I totally get that. But this song just makes me happy. And I love the opening credits too on this, and we didn't really talk about that. But I like the song. The song really goes well with the way they did the opening credits in the 80s. These opening credits are horny as fuck, by the way. Like that first woman like unzips her like ski suit or whatever, or bathing suit, and it's like you see like the sides of her breast, and like right under that it's like 007 and A View to a Kill or whatever.
Yeah, the 007 expands as the thing
what's
opens.
Going on?
And it's not like you can see breasts in the shot.
No.
It's basically saying what it's basically doing is it to me. I'm sitting there thinking Maurice Binder is going, yeah, but she's opening her shirt, so shouldn't the 007 come out like her boobs are coming out? You know, and that's what everybody's like. Yeah, totally. Let's do that.
Yeah, because there's actually been like nudity in opening credits before. There's not. I mean, I don't think there's any in that.
It's always silhouetted.
Yeah. But I love the opening credits, and I love these opening credits so much. It also makes me dislike the movie more because, like, I was thinking about this because, like, I get like the pre-title sequence, which we already talked about with the skiing and stuff, is not good. It's okay at first, and then they throw that Beach Boys song in, and it gets really bad.
Yeah.
But then you go into these really cool opening credits. You go into this song I really love. I'm like, I'm ready for a fucking great Bond movie. It would be like, I think when people talk about opening credits, they talk about like Seven. Like Seven's got really popular, really famous, maybe the best opening credits ever in a movie. So imagine if you watch the opening credits to Seven, and then the movie that followed that was The Bone Collector.
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of what this is. It's like, it sucks so bad.
What a random movie.
I know.
What a random movie. I mean, it's not random because Bone Collector came out largely because of
that's
movies
what I was
like
thinking.
Seven.
Like,
but it's so fun. It's so fun.
So like,
it's
instead
so
of like
funny,
watching Goldfinger or From Russia with Love or The Spy Who Loved Me, it's fucking View to a Kill. You know, it's like, you're just like it just like pumps you up, and then it's just like, oh, what the, and they're at a horse race or whatever, and I'm just like, God, what the?
Yeah.
Like, how
exactly.
you like? I mean, it's like, I mean, that's a serious, like, just, you go down like so quick, and it never recovers. So but I do, for better or worse, this song makes me happy. That's all I know to say. And if I ever actually had the nerve to do karaoke, this is definitely a song that I would love to try.
Yeah.
I think it would be fun. My wife, by the way,
my
wife hates this song with a passion too, and she gets so irritated whenever I get really excited when it's like on the radio or something.
I mean, I think we're in the minority. Your
I don't
wife
think so,
and mine.
I don't know. I mean, like, people that grew up in the 80s. I mean, like, I don't know that I'm even a huge 80s music guy, like what people consider like 80s music, but like, I don't know. I don't. Maybe. I think most people would say like "Live and Let Die" or something more recent. Like, I mean, I think "Skyfall" is a really big one. I think the Billie Eilish one went over okay. I don't know. The Sam Smith one, except for in the UK, apparently, I don't remember anybody talking about that one. It's interesting though. The song kind of like peaks here. I think though they don't really like. They get big artists to come in and do the song. They get probably bigger artists than they've ever had to come in and do the songs. But people like just don't really talk about the songs. Not that there's not good ones. There definitely is after this. But
there's some really good ones.
I mean, Tina Turner one, for instance, I'll go ahead and say I think that one's really underrated. I mean, that's a really fun.
It is. I think so
that's
too.
another one that feels very Bond. And see, that one actually leads into a pretty good movie. This one leads into A View to a Kill. So it's like, damn it.
Yeah.
Fuck you, man.
I know.
How do you have like one of the best songs on one of the worst movies? Like, that's not fair.
Yeah.
You have Christopher Walken, you got Duran Duran, you got Grace Jones, and you fucked it up.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyways. But like you said, it's not the worst. And we're going to talk about worse movies than this moving forward. So not too many, thankfully. I don't think.
I don't think so.
There's a couple.
Just without looking, I'm going to say there's 3 worse than this.
We have not covered what I think is the worst movie in the franchise, and I cannot imagine that's going to change. Like, I can't see I can't think of another one because I haven't watched some of these in a while. But like, I still can't imagine that. Like, I'm just going to be like, oh wait, no, Skyfall's way worse than I thought it would. You know, I just don't. I don't see.
Yeah, no, I know which one you're thinking of.
I mean, it's probably most people's. It's probably most people's.
But I'm going to say, just estimate, just on the ones that I can rattle through my head, 3 more are going to be worse than this.
Yeah, so. And I think there's one you like less than this that I like more, I think. But I could be wrong. I don't know. We'll find out. So that is all we're doing. We're not talking about. We're not really, like I mentioned. I did a recap of the story that it's based on, but there's just not enough to talk about to do that third segment. And like I said this last week. I mean, moving forward, we just might sometimes not have that third segment because, I mean, there's just nothing to talk about. It has nothing to do with the story that was written, and then what they did take from other books we've already talked about in other episodes. It's Goldfinger. I mean, they basically just take shit from Goldfinger and kind of change it up. But thank you all for hanging out with us this week. We hope you will join us again next week when we are moving to a new James Bond. It is Sir Timothy Dalton. I don't know if he's a sir. Is he a sir?
I don't know either.
But I don't know that he is. Timothy Dalton, he's going to be in his first of 2 movies that he did. The Living Daylights is what we're going to be talking about next week. Also, before we go, we have social media. You can reach us on Twitter. We are at GoldSpy007. You can also reach out to me directly on Twitter. I am at SamLoomis13. You can email us at golddiamonddeath007@gmail.com. And if you like this podcast and other things under the Cinemasins brand, we also have a Patreon you can join at patreon.com/Cinemasins. And if you have a second to leave us a 5-star review at your podcast listening app of choice, we would appreciate it. So yeah, we're going to talk about that next week. But until then, keep the martinis dry and shaken, the Baccarat shoe moving, and the Aston Martin fully gassed. This is Chris Atkinson and Jonathan Watkins signing off, and we will see you next mission.